Oh, everybody, it's that time of week again. You know what time it is. Pauper, Dragon, Highlander. This week, we're looking at 8.5 tails. For white, you get a 2/2 legendary creature fox cleric with these abilities. Pay 1 into white. Target permanent you control gains protection from white until end of turn. Also, you could pay 1. Target spell or permanent becomes white until end of turn. Now, protection from a color, specifically in this case white, is pretty important. But before we move on, you have to understand exactly what protection means. There are 4 points to being protected from something in Magic the Gathering. 1, and actually it makes an acronym. They call it DEBT. D-E-B-T. The D in DEBT is for damage. You cannot be damaged by a color or by a object, a game source that you are protected from. E is equipped and enchanted. You cannot be equipped or enchanted by a equipment or enchantment that is that color. Third is B, blocked. You cannot be blocked by a creature that has that color or that quality to it. So you can't be damaged, you can't be equipped or enchanted, you can't be blocked. You can, however, block, and you can be destroyed. If an effect says destroy, actually let's fourth, T, you cannot be targeted. If a spell says destroy target creature, well, it can't hit you because it says target creature, and you can't be targeted. Specific thing to note, when you're being targeted, it texts the game state of Magic the Gathering, the way it works. It checks for targets as being legal when the spell is cast. You choose a target. It also checks when the spell resolves. So, if, say, someone casts let's get something up here. If somebody were to cast a Swords to Plowshares, on my 8.5 tails, that would exile 8.5 tails. Now, DEBT, protection, there's no protection from exile, there's no protection from this effect. So someone could do that. They could say, I'm going to cast Swords to Plowshares on your 8.5 tails. Well, you say, I let that resolve. I let that be cast. But so as they choose that, it goes on the stack, right? And now before the spell actually resolves, what you do is you activate 8.5 tails ability, making 8.5 tails protected from white. Then, as the spell resolves, it says, well, this creature can no longer be targeted, even though it already has been targeted, but it can't be targeted as the spell resolves, so it will fizzle out and do nothing. Neat little effect. Just something cool to know about how this thing works. But if someone were to instead do a Wrath of God, even if you gave, I don't know why they use this artwork, but it is 2 white, so it is a white spell, but it says destroy all creatures. Now, that doesn't protect, you're not being targeted, it destroys all creatures. You're not being equipped or enchanted, obviously. It's not being blocked, obviously. And you are not being damaged, you're just being directly destroyed. So, if someone played Wrath of God, 8.5 tails cannot save you from such an effect. But if someone were to play Murder, of course there's like 50 different spells that have murder in the name, and 8.5 tails gave itself protection, and then also made Murder using its second ability, said 1, give murder, make murder a white, make target spell being murder white. Then, because it would have protection from white and murder would be white, it fizzles out as before. So, single target removal, not worried about it at all. So, let's just go through the. Oh, right. There we go. Forgot that we had the bookmarks open. Yeah, let's just kind of look through the deck, right? We have a pseudo. What's the name? Pseudo Voltron strategy going on here. Kind of just some random stuff thrown together. See how it does. You can play around with this. You can go heavier into Voltron. You can go heavier out of Voltron. But it's just kind of some interesting things to kind of look at. So first we can look at the pro white. So these things will all give protection from white. So in case you don't want to use 8.5 Tails ability to give something protection from white, you want to save your mana on that. So now you permanently give something protection from white with a card such as Chroma's Blessing. 2 into white for an instant. Creatures you control gain protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. Okay, so it gives it to all your creatures. And it has cycling white. Bathe in light, so that's a little bit of versatility along with protection for only 3 mana. So as long as you have more than one creature out, that's kind of useful. Bathe in light. Choose a color. Target creature and each other creature that shares a color with it gain protection from the chosen color until end of turn. You just choose one of your creatures and choose white. Brave the elements. Same thing. Empty Shrine, Kanushi. 1 white for a 1/1 human cleric. Has protection from the colors of permanents you control, which is only white, but that's all you need because of this thing. Make everything white. Great. So you can just block away as a free blocker on anything that you want to make white. Floating Shield. 2 and white. As Floating Shield comes into play, choose a color. Enchanted creature has protection from the chosen color. This effect does not remove Floating Shield. Great. Basically, you just say, hey, I'm going to put this for 3 mana. You can have permanent protection from white. He does have that. Jareth, Leonine Titan, 3 white for a 4/7 cat giant, legendary creature. Another creature that I was looking into possibly doing a deck tech on, but haven't quite gotten around to that. Pentarch. Oh, did I read anything for him? Don't think so. Whenever Jareth Leonine Titan blocks, it gets +7/+7 until end of turn. 1 white, Jareth gains protection from the color singular of your choice until end of turn. So, pretty good. Pentarch Ward. Another enchantment similar to Floating Shield. Pledge of Loyalty. Enchanted creature has protection from the colors of permanents you control. This effect does not remove Pledge of Loyalty. Voice of Truth. 3 into white for a 2/2 angel flying, protection from white. Ward of Lights. White for same kind of thing. White Ward. Another gives a creature enchant protection from white. Great. So these are all just to give things protection of white as an alternate way to do so instead of 8.5 Tails' ability, in case you don't have access to 8.5 Tails at the moment, or you'd rather not use, you want to make it more permanent, something like that, you know. Let's look. We got prevent damage. Oh, these are actually really good ones. Circle of Protection, white. 1 and white for an enchantment with the ability to pay 1 mana of any color. Doesn't really matter to us because we're only paying in white. Details, or you can, nope, not that. Okay, I have no idea if you've seen this at all, but like, I'm just gonna pop up notifications about updates for my computer, which I don't need. Circle of Protection, white. The ability, pay 1 mana The next time a white source of your choice would deal damage to you this turn, prevent that damage. So let's say they attacked with a huge creature, and you're not gonna stop that damage. You got stupid blockers that it's trample, so it's gonna like overrun everything. So what you do is you pay 1, make it white, and pay 2, make it prevent all that damage. Good steps, man. The combo potential between the circle of protection, rune of protection, this kind of stuff, and 8.5 tails is crazy good. It just prevents so much damage. And there's actually other builds of this which have more protection kind of things and just more creatures out. So that way you can kind of just go and pillow fort until you use a card like what's it called? You got you can use a win con ability, like there's one that makes you like you just gain a bunch of life and then you win the game effectively. There's other ways to play this deck, but this is more of a aggressive strategy to a degree. Rune of Protection white. 1 and white for an enchantment again. This time it has white to prevent all damage to you from white source, but also cycling 2. So yeah. So it's the same thing, but also has cycling 2. But in this case, we're never going to need the cycling. They're just the same thing, basically. Sphere of Truth. 3 into white for an enchantment. If a white source would deal damage to you, prevent 2 of that damage. Alright, so maybe you can't get either of these out, if you can't prevent all the damage, but without even needing to pay mana, you just make it white and you prevented 2 of the damage. We'll go to this other section first to look at a couple things. Alms Collector. 3 into white for a 3/4 cat cleric flash. And if an opponent would draw 2 or more cards, instead you and that player each draw a card. Probably should have him in draw, but like, you know, I didn't get to that. I forgot. Yeah, Alms Collector is really powerful card, especially since it's commander. A lot of people are going to be wanting to draw more than 1 card, specifically blue players. I'm looking at you. But instead of that, now you get to draw extra cards, which in mono white you don't really have much of. Card draw is not the greatest in mono white or anything. Like you have white and then you have red, or if you have Boros, which is white and red, none of those have good. There's just no good card draw on those colors. There's like you have to use mostly colorless like card draw, like these ones. But you do have Alms Collector, which is a newer card. I don't remember exactly which set he came from, but he's from a recent set, and he's just a really powerful card. Something that arguably most white decks should be running, especially at such a cheap cost. Banishing Light. 2 into white for an enchantment. When Banishing Light enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent an opponent controls until Banishing Light leaves the battlefield. So just to get rid of something for a while. Deal with a threat. Brass Squire. 3 for a 1/3 artifact creature, Myr. I don't know exactly what that is. I think it's a Myr or a Myr. I guess I'll just call it a Myr. An artifact creature, Myr. Tap to attach target equipment you control to a target creature you control. Neat, so just more equipping without paying mana costs. That's something that'll be more useful once you see all the equipment we have, which is, as you can see, a lot. I also don't know if it tracks my mouse. I'm not 100% sure all the things this recording software does. Probably should have looked into that. So, oh, speaking of recording software, you may have noticed that we have a new layout. We got fancy things over there, or over there. I think over there. Over there, we have a little bit. You got things sideways next to each other instead of on top of each other. I wanted to make a little bit more room for the main screen over there or over there. I don't know whether it flips my camera or not. And obviously we have the commander below me. And you know what else is below me? That subscription box and that like button and the comment section where you can do all those things like subscribe, share, hit that bell, become a bell scriber. You know, tell your fam, let everyone know. Subscribe to Walrain on YouTube because everyone could use a little bit of this. Who doesn't need to know about Uber but extreme budget Pauper Commander decks? Anyways, something to note about Brass Squire. Just look at that guy. Like, I don't know if you can see the card art greatly, and if you can't, in the smallish window that you're in, that the thing is, maybe, but like, this card art is just beautiful. Like, he's just like such a little, like, he kind of reminds me of like a Bionicle. Like, if a Bionicle also had like a Final Fantasy sword, like Cloud, he's just like, alright, guys, let's do this. Where are we dropping, boy? That's effectively the just silliness and the great joy that I get out of looking at card art like Brass Squires. Anyways, Kemba, Car Regent. 1 white for a 2/4 cat cleric, legendary creature. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a 2/2 white cat creature token for each equipment attached to Kemba, Car Regent. So, this is just another target for equipment in case you don't, maybe 8.5 Tails has died, or for some reason you don't need any more equipment and you have extra ones or something, you can put onto Kemba and start making cats. Mirror Adapter. Also another equipment. Suitor. 3 for a 1/1 artifact creature, Mirror. Another Mirror. And Mirror Adapter gets +1/+1 for each equipment attached to it. So it's just gonna get really big. Pious Kitsune. 2 white for a 1/2 Fox Cleric. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a devotion counter on Pious Kitsune. Then, if a creature named 8.5 Tails is in play, you gain 1 life for each devotion counter on Pious Kitsune. And you could tap, remove a devotion counter from Pious Kitsune, you gain 1 life. You're not going to be using the tapping ability, but just someone who can sit out there for a little bit and rack up devotion counters and rack up life. It's like the best kind of cumulative upkeep. Instead of paying extra mana or taking damage, you just gain a bunch of life. Remember the Fallen. 2 white. For a sorcery, choose one or both. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, and or return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. That's just pretty good. Yeah, you can protect your creatures with 8.5 Tails, which is a very good thing to do. But you can't always do that. You can't always protect your creatures. So, sometimes you have to get them back, so you remember the Fallen. Stonehaven Outfitter. 1 white for a 2/2 core artificer ally. Equipped creatures you control get 1/1/1. And whenever an equipped creature you control dies, draw a card. So it's card draw and it's buffs to our creatures. Pretty good. Next, we have the equipment. Obviously, we also have ramp, draw, card draw, removal, board wipes. Those are just basic kind of, you do things. You wipe the board, you remove things, you get more mana, you draw cards. As always, I'm not really going to get into those because it'll get pretty boring. A lot of the ramp and card draw is the same just because we're on the cheap list, which there isn't insane ramp and card draw for cheap for 25 cents card. But we'll get into the equipment now. Angelic Armaments. 3 with an equipped 4. Equipped creature gets +2/+2, has flying, and is a white angel in addition to its other colors and types. Being white and an angel doesn't matter too much, but +2/+2 in flying. It's evasion and it's power boosting. Armory of Iroas. 2 and equipped 2. Whenever a equipped creature attacks, put a 1/1 counter on it. So this is just damage over time. Everest Amulet. 4 equipped 2. Equipped creature has +2/+0 and vigilance. And at the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card. That's extra card draw. Also, when a equipped creature dies, Target opponent gains control of Avarice Amulet. So, that is the downside. You have to make sure that equipped creature stays alive, which is why you want to force them, which is actually, this kind of forces someone to board wipe. You know, because you got this attached to your 8.5 tails or whatever. 8.5 tails is making that thing protected, but so if someone still wants to kill this, so then they have to board up and get rid of everything. So kind of a bait in a way where like, oh, I'm gonna play this and get this every upkeep I draw a card. So if you want this as well, if you want to draw the cards, well, you're gonna have to board wipe, and then I'm just gonna choose someone else, and they're gonna be better off than you. So it's kind of a real. I think it works a little bit better in this deck than it would in other equipment decks. Banshee's Blade. 2. Equip 2. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each charge counter on Banshee's Blade. When equipped creature deals combat damage, put a charge counter on this card. Barb Battle Gear. 3. Equip 2. Equipped creature gets +4/-1. Now, there aren't any creatures in our deck that if we were to equip this and just let it be with nothing else equipped to it, that it would die to this. And that's important. I wanted to make sure when I put this card in, I was like, are my creatures going to die from this? Is 8.5 tails going to die from it? No, it's not. It's going to still have its good power. It's still going to not be dead from 0 toughness. So, something neat to note. Just, it's a bunch of power, a little bit less toughness, but as long as you're making it unblockable or undamageable, which you can actually, interesting thing, you can choose with this. You can say, well, let's say I only have 5 power on 8.5 tails due to equipment. Their creature has 6 toughness. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to give it protection from, I'm going to make that creature white and give it protection from white. Or I'll give it protection from white, then I'll make the creature white before combat even starts. Now that creature can't block me. Now let's say, different situation. I have 5 power and their creature has 5 toughness. Now I'll give myself protection. Now I don't even have to do either of those. I wait, I say I'll attack with this. Either they don't block it, I deal 5 damage, cool. I didn't have to pay the 3 mana, also really cool. Or they do block it, then I give myself protection from white and make it white after it's been blocked. So now I take no damage because that thing can't damage it, right? 8.5 tails can't be damaged because it has protection. But that creature will still take damage from 8.5 tails and die due to it only having 5 toughness. So they either lose the creature or let us through without having to pay 3 mana to protect ourselves, which is a good note to keep in your mind when playing this deck and trying to save mana. Got to be careful because you don't have infinite mana. You just gotta really keep in mind where you're at in the game and what exactly your play sequence should be. Bladed Pinions. 2. Equip 2. Equipped creature has flying in first strike. Again, evasion and just also cool, good ability. You don't necessarily need to spend the 3 mana if you're just going to kill it first anyways. So it's a mana saver as well. Blight Sickle. 2 and equip 2. Equipped creature ups +1/+0 and has Wither. Wither means it deals damage to creatures in the form of -1/-1 counters. Why do we like this? Well, simply put, creatures that are bigger than us, like really big creatures, maybe not in like infinitely huge creatures, but they got something like, I don't know, that just like is going to demolish the board, you got to block it every turn. No, that we're not stopping that with a Blight Sickle. Well, maybe slowly we can, and no pun intended, wither it down. But no, the Wither is really good for creatures with indestructible, like the gods, the Theros gods. There's 15 of them. Or if you got one of the new gods from Amonkhet, Hazaret, Bantu, all those guys. Don't remember the others. Kefnet, 2 more. Ronus. Oh, look at this. I know more than I thought I knew. I knew 4 of the gods. And what's the last one? Don't tell me. But it's the white god. Shoot, now I have to look this up. The white, there's the put this upon yourself, Trevor. Event search. Let's see. Type. Let's do God. And just apply. Alright. And let's go to additions. Amonkhet. Ronas, got that one. Hazaret. Bantu. Oketra. Kefnet. Oketra. That's some pretty good knowledge right there. And yeah, you can look at the price ahead of time if you caught that. So really, this is extreme budget, which I didn't even realize when I was making it. Yeah. That's not gonna be a big reveal later, but who cares? Where are we at? We got, yeah, Wither. We're gonna kill those indestructible gods with Wither, because indestructible doesn't stop from having 0 less toughness killing you. It's a board state. Bone Splitter, +2/+0, 1, equip 1. Brawler's Plate, 3, equip 4, +2/+2, and Trample. Trample is pretty good. It's useful for in case maybe we do want to let it get blocked. We want to kill something. Well, now we also just deal some extra damage to them anyways. Captain's Hook, 3, equip 1. Equipped creature gets +2/+0, has menace, and is a pirate in addition to its other types. Yar. Whenever Captain's Hook becomes unattached from a permanent, destroy that permanent. Gotta make him walk the plank. You hear me, matey? Captain's Hook is something you have to be wary of. There are actually I don't think this is a downside to equipment in Commander, because the way equipment is played, it's you put it on one creature and it stays on it until it dies. So if unattaching an equipment would kill it, that's not really much of a downside when Voltron strategies, the point is you're not attaching the equipment from the creature until it dies, and they're forced off of it. So I just think that the fact that it just gets with +2/0 and Menace for only 1 equip cost is a pretty powerful thing. Chariot of Victory, 3, equip 1, First Strike, Trample, Haste. Chitinous Cloak, 3, equip 3, +2/+2, and Menace. Copper Carapace. Oh, Menace, by the way, for Chitinous Cloak and Captain's Hook. That means it cannot be blocked except by 2 or more creatures. So that means they gotta double block it. 2 things are dying. It's value. It's a good value. Copper Carapace, 1, equip 3, +2/+2, and can't block. Now this one is something you gotta think of. You gotta kind of be wary of which one you're putting it on. You don't necessarily want to put this on your creature that is, maybe you had your Jareth Leonine Titan out. You're not going to be putting your Carapace on that guy. You want to be putting it probably on 8.5 Tails most of the time, just because 8.5 Tails doesn't require tap for either its ability, which is just great. And it's something that you're going to be focusing on attacking a lot with him once you start getting that equipment out. Because this is kind of a slow game. You got to think about this. If you scroll down, if you can see the mana curve, I don't know if you can, but basically it's slightly higher, but also not. It's kind of weird. You have a lot of low cost spells, but with all the equipment, that's actually going to raise, and because of the abilities they're going to be paying mana towards is a big part of your deck, you're going to have a lot of mana that you're going to need. So saving up until those later turns is something good, especially with the protection and that kind of stuff. So in those later turns, 8.5 Tails is going to be the one who's going to be swinging in, trying to get in a ton of commander damage, and finish with a late game Voltron sweep. Which means something like Carapace is something that you don't necessarily want to put on 8.5 Tails in the early game. Maybe not most of your creatures in the early game, but maybe you find you get out a Kemba and you want to just get an extra cat, and then you can attack and make it unblockable because of this stuff. Maybe you want to put on the Mirror Adapter, give him just extra power. It's just something you want to really be careful with, where you're equipping and what creatures you're attacking with, because hopefully what happens is you can kill one or two opponents. Maybe a lot of your opponents are going to be helping you kill each other, because this is not a very powerful deck. But if they're working on killing each other, maybe two of your opponents can go down to just being killed with normal damage. And then in the end game, you can lay the smackdown with the 8.5 tails and get in some good commander damage. Finish out a game. Anyways, Fire Shrieker. 3, equip 2, equipped creature has double strike. That's really good. It's just a good ability, which is totally worth not having any extra power boost to it. Grappling Hook. 4, and equip 4, double strike. Again, just as good as Fire Shrieker, but it has an extra equip cost and an extra paying mana cost, because also, whenever a equipped creature attacks, you may have target creature block it this turn if able. You can force a block of any creature you want. So that's for many decks that have maybe a couple creatures that they want to just have out there not blocking. Well, now you're forcing that creature to block. Because I know there's a ton of cards. There's Snapcaster Mages. There's like low power creatures. Maybe you just got your commander out. Maybe it's not very strong yet. Well, I'm gonna just kill it. Turn 1. Because I forced it to block. Hero's Blade. 2. Equip 4 for and it gives the equipped creature +3/+2. Now, equip 4 is not a very small equip cost. Like, Grappling Hook is a very powerful card. Like, that effect is great. Hero's Blade is extra power and toughness, sure, but equip 4? So, that's not that great. But, whenever a legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach Hero's Blade to it. Whenever 8.5 Tails enters the battlefield, whenever Jareth enters the battlefield, whenever Kemba enters the battlefield, you can attach Hero's Blade for free. And that's kind of the point. You're just going to be attaching this for free, hopefully. Inquisitor's Flail. 2, and equip 2. If an equipped creature would deal combat damage, it deals double that damage instead. If another creature would deal combat damage to a equipped creature, it deals double that damage to the equipped creature instead. That sounds pretty bad for most things, but for 8.5 Tails, where you're not getting damaged, you're not getting blocked, now you're just dealing double damage. And because this is not a keyword ability, this is in addition to double strike. So let's say you had a 8.5 Tails with, let's say you got it up to 5 power? No, 6 power. You got it up to 6 power. That's all you really need for that. You got one of these, you got a Carapace, you got a Chitinous Cloak. It's +4 total power. It's 6 power. You got a Fire Shrieker, and you got Inquisitor's Flail. Now, it attacks once, you make it unblockable. It deals double strike damage, which means it would attack twice. But since it deals 6 damage twice for double strike, but it deals double that damage twice, that's 24 damage in one swing from only 6 power. So, normally when you're looking at a commander, you think, well, 7 is the magic number. Well, 7 doesn't need to be the magic number. When you have like 4 different equipments, I think 3 or 4 equipments that can all make it deal double damage, you only really need 6 power in this one, which is something really cool, because it says, hey, you have all this power, you don't need 7 power to deal lethal in 3. Instead, you just get 6 power and you can deal lethal in 2. That's pretty good if you ask me. Necropouncer. Sorry. I was watching a video about Necropotence. Another card which is really good. You should look up Necropotence. Necropouncer. 6 and equip 2. Living weapon. And which means when this equipment enters the battlefield, put a 0/0 black germ creature token onto the battlefield, then attach this to it. So it's a free equip as soon as it enters the battlefield on a creature that you just created out of thin air. Pretty cool. But the main thing is that it gives +3/+1, so a lot of power. No Dachi. 2. Equip 3. Equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has first strike. Obsidian Battle Axe. 3. Equip 3. Equipped creature has +2/+1 and haste. Ogre's Cleaver. The final equipment to equip 5. So, Hero's Blade and Grappling Hook were equipped 4. This is equipped 5. But equipped creature gets +5 +0. That puts him up to 7. So now, you know I was talking about how we don't need 7 for the magic number? Well, you don't need it. Doesn't mean you can't still have it. And just 3-hit somebody with a 8.5 Tails and Ogre Cleaver. 3 turns, dead. And there is one card that you may have noticed that I haven't touched at all. Under the slightly suspicious category of WinCon, Approach of the Second Sun. Something a bit, the one thing that well, I could win through dealing a bunch of damage and equipping things, or I can do this. Approach of the Second Sun. This has a lot of text, so I'm sure you might not be able to read it, but you may have also heard of it before. 6 and white for a sorcery. If Approach of the Second Sun was cast from your hand, and you've cast another spell named Approach of the Second Sun this game, you win the game. Okay, so you cast the spell and then you do nothing, because that doesn't make sense. Why would you play it? You can only have one of each card in Commander. You can't have ever cast this twice. But wait, there's more. If you hadn't cast another spell named Approach of the Second Sun this game, put Approach of the Second Sun into its owner's library, 7th from the top, and you gain 7 life. So, you cast this once, you gain 7 life. 7 mana, 7 life. That's not very good. And then it gets put 7 card from the top, so there's 6 above it. Well, then, after you've drawn a couple cards, 7 to be exact, you play it again, and you just win the game. So you can use your blockers with protection to stall out your life total, and hopefully survive your opponent's onslaughts, and then just win. So yeah, that's it. That's the deck. There are a couple other cards you might want to consider. You have the Master Artificer. Oh. Edificer. You have cards such as SRAM, Senior Edificer. Whenever you cast an aura, equipment, or vehicle spell, draw a card. That's something that I thought about, but he was a couple dollars, and I'm like, nah, it's too expensive. I did not, however, notice this. This deck, all cards included, besides basic lands, of course, including the commander, 1477. I did not intend this. I didn't do this on purpose. I was just looking through, clicking cards, like, oh, let's look at this one's good, this one's cheap, this one's cheap. And I did it. I finally, on accident, I made myself my under $15 deck. And we had the one extreme budget deck, whatever. I don't remember who it was, but you know, sometimes it just happens on complete accident when you're going for budget. Sometimes you get extreme budget, and that's what happens when you're playing Pauper Dragon Highlander. And with that, I will see you all off until next time. Bye-bye.